Chris, there was some nice cheers and some nice celebrations for Ted Colossi. I think I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, that's right.
Be playing a bit of time tomorrow night?
Yes, yeah, he'll play as a sub tomorrow night, which is it's fantastic news. There's always a silver lining in these sort of moments, and we accept that and are disappointed with the position we're in, but it's hard to argue against the fact that our players are really excited about the opportunity to see a few young guys play. Toby Conway will make his debut. We get a chance to farewell, Isaac Smith, and get some younger guys into the team that have played a little bit and have showed some real promise, but can build some excitement and show us sort of what's possible moving into the future.
Is that where you can draw some motivation for, even though there's nothing on the line in terms of the final state?
Yeah, I think so. I think if we look at it in terms of it being the start of our preparation for 24, there are some things to get out of it, and we've always valued enjoying your footy, and sometimes you just do need little hooks and things to focus on to remind you of how privileged we are to be in this position, and how good it is to get the chance to run out and play with the Cats, and to see the excitement of the players, given the opportunity provided to Ted and Ollie Dempsey and Mitch Nevitt and Toby Conway, and then at the other end of the spectrum get the chance to run out one last time with Isaac Smith, who really has been a great player of his generation.
Was there a temptation to give Ted a full run, or was that a conversation even had at your level?
Yeah, of course it was had, but there were just a lot of considerations, and it's a bit of a logistical nightmare. It's not something I'm looking forward to ever doing again if I can avoid it, but on balance it just ended up being the right thing, for us.
And on Toby's sort of season, he's been very interrupted with injuries. He's come back recently and sort of had a good couple of weeks. Do you feel like that position will be sort of, I guess, his role going to be starting ruck, or is he playing more forward? Like, how do you envisage his position in the side on Saturday?
No, he'll start in the ruck. So he's had an interrupted start to his career, but we made a concerted effort to make sure it was a thorough preparation before he played, and we were completely open to the possibility that preparation might not have him in good enough shape to play by the end of the year, but it was an investment we were prepared to make because we're confident over the long term he'll be a really good player for us. But the fact is he worked really hard and got himself back playing in the VFL, which we thought was a win in itself, but then was playing well enough for us to... We did consider him last week, but he just had a little ankle issue the week before, which sort of held him back a little bit. But now he's ready to play, and we were always looking for that chance to get him in. And again, I think he's an example of someone that we can look at tomorrow night with a view to what season 24 and beyond might look like.
Off the back of the changes, there's been a bit of talk about selection integrity coming up against a side that's obviously trying to fight the finals. Looking at a couple of guys, my guess there's a couple that might have been pushing themselves anyway to get up to play. Could you just take us through, I guess, the selection decision, Jeremy being one as well, sending you for surgery, this week? Yeah,
look, I'm very happy in this situation to be completely transparent, but we do reserve our right not to be completely transparent when we're fighting to keep our season alive. So it's a bit more obvious now, the position we feel like we've been in for quite large patches of this year. There's a lot more nuance than he's either available or is not. There's available to play under extreme duress and on balance be better than the next guy coming in, and being fully fit to perform at your absolute best. And Jeremy hasn't been there for a long time. And hand on heart, I have been asking our guys for a number of weeks whether it's still the right thing for him to be playing. He hasn't been doing much training, but the stuff he has been doing, I don't mind saying, the guy's been getting injected to train because he just couldn't do it otherwise. So, I challenge anyone to say we should roll him out for another game in that condition. And I've come more to that view as I've been in the game longer. I think it used to be a badge of honour that you can play through anything. And I just completely disagree with that notion now. Now, all players play through pain at some stage. But we got to the point with him where it's just made... It was starting to not make sense in my mind, and it made absolutely no sense this week. So I'm happy to have that debate with anyone that wants to have it. And all the other guys are unavailable. Like, to a man, Tanner Bruin hurt his toe at training this week. Like, again, a little bit of our year. We're not... I hope it doesn't sound like we're playing the world's smallest violin. We understand all clubs go through these cycles, and you have a bit of bad luck here and there, but I reckon it's the fifth or sixth contact toe injury we've had all year. Like, I played 14 years. I don't remember one of my teammates missing with a toe. Like, it's just been a bit of a strange year. And again, I fully accept that we're not completely transparent with the injury status of our players, because we're not going to give the opposition that information. And a lot of these things are nuanced and they can change on a daily basis. So the last thing we want to do is put out information that might limit the ability of our team to play their best, but also information that might change and we have to backtrack on what we thought was originally the case. But we have a big group of players who aren't playing this week because they're not fit, and we are down to we're really stretching the limits of our list. And it's fine for others to have the conversation. Again, I'm a little bit more expansive now than I would normally be, but I respect their position, again, based on not much information, but they should accept that we know what we're doing, I think.
When you review your season, how much of an impact have those injuries or even just niggles had, especially when you have an older list profile and some of your stars like Jeremy that you're hoping and require to play as much football might be more susceptible to those sort of issues that they carry through?
Yeah, but possibly that's the case with a couple of them. I don't think it's the case with the majority of them. I think they just had contact injuries that made it hard for them to play at their best. But it wasn't just the injuries. It's, as always, it's a bit like the draw. It's not who you play, it's when you play them. With injuries, it's not how many you've got, it's who they are and what position of the ground they're in. And the part that's a bit frustrating for us is there were periods throughout the year where we thought we were getting things together, and we played some games that gave us optimism to think that if we could keep improving on that trajectory, that would be really hard to beat. Now, it just hasn't worked out that way, and there is we need a little bit more time to sort of think through what we'd adjust, but. And there are always things. We came away from last year thinking we'd do certain things differently. But yeah, I think that the time for sort of deeper reflection is in the next couple of weeks rather than right now.
That forward line mix is very different to what it has been all season. Is it more or less pressure, I guess, on the younger guys who are in that forward line to play well, or are you looking at it as a case of just more of a learning for them?
Oh, neither. I don't think it's as simple as, just go out there and whatever happens, you'll learn something. We've got higher expectations than that for Shannon Neal. He's an example of a guy that has only come into the team late because he'd been injured for most of the year, but we were looking forward to him playing as a key forward. Even last week he had to play in the ruck, which we don't think is his best position right at the moment. So he's going to play as a key forward this week, and we're confident he can play well. And it's without Rowan and Cameron and Hawkins, and others, but Ollie Henry's been good for us this year, and we get a bit of a look at what the forward line could be in the future. So Stanley will come into the team; he'll play forward a little bit as well. So it's different, but it's not as if we don't have some big targets down there to complement Ollie Henry and Tyson Stengel and Myers.
Was the temptation there to bring in Conway into the side to give Shannon Neal a chance to play forward?
No, they're decisions made in isolation, but now you bring it up, we would have played Shannon as a key forward almost no matter what. So it helped it, but Toby's coming into play in the ruck, even with Stanley in the team, because that's what we think he's ready to do, and we're excited to see how he can go with decent periods in the ruck by himself.
Two champions you club not playing this weekend in Zach Tui and Tom Hawkins. Will we see them running around next year? Is that your hope?
Yeah, that's my hope. Yeah, with those guys. Yeah.
And one on a start, Radicalia. Just probably last time we could probably ask you, where's Where's he at? Have you had any more discussions, I guess, about where his decision lies with playing on?
Yeah, we have, and again, as time's gone on, I've tried to be sort of clearer about how we actually work. Again, we're not an open book in this respect. There's some things that we do that we're not going to explain in great detail to everyone else, but suffice to say, I don't make list management calls. I'm involved in them, and I've been really clear how highly I rate Asava. I'm looking forward to him playing out the rest of his career at the Cats. He's a very valuable player, and I think he's only just started to show the type of player he can be. So I'll be fighting very, very hard to keep him at the Cats.
Where do you see you might need some improvements? You've never been one as a club to sit still over the off-season and use that trade period. Where do you see an area that you'd like to add into? Is there a certain spot?
Yeah, there is, but I think it's probably the same as most clubs, and they're also sort of hard to do. We'd love a gun inside mid, and we'd love the best young key forward in the comp. But then you sort of work back from there. But our list management team, I think, has done a really good job over the last 4 or 5 years, kind of slowly sort of building out some of the things that we felt we needed to do. And really that process started well before sort of 22. Like, for one, I didn't quite expect Sam De Koning to have the year he did last year, and Tyson Stengel sort of up the other end of the ground. But we're optimistic that we've been rebuilding by stealth over the last sort of 4 or 5 years. And even this year was, I think, emblematic of that. Round one and throughout big chunks of the season, we played sort of, Jack Bowes and Tanner Bruin and Ollie Henry, and there was never any pressure on them to say, hey, you've got to come in and make this team better straight away. But we're confident they could make us better over the long term and sort of throw Holmes in there. We feel like we've got the nucleus of some young guys that can go on to be really high-level players, and also not have a list that's got huge gaps in terms of sort of specific positional needs, which again is why Radicalee is very important to us. And it is a competition. You just don't give those guys away. They're very high value.
Would Bailey Smith be a name you look at from somewhere to get some help in that midfield area?
Yeah, well, I'm not really across the situation there. I've heard it brought up quite a few times now, so I imagine it's being spoken about out there. But he kind of fits into that category, doesn't he, of a young sort of, is he an inside mid? I'm not sure, but those sort of guys, I think if anyone's being honest, go to 17 other clubs and say, would you like that calibre of player? The short answer is yes. The longer answer is it kind of depends. They're hard to get, and as it should be, if you want something, like the Radicalee example, then it's really costly. So you've got to weigh that up.
Just last one from me. You obviously normally got more weeks to go as a coach. How do you feel heading into this off-season? Will you be watching on? Do you go in with a sense of frustration? What's the next few weeks look like for you?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how I'm going to feel, but except that I feel really motivated for what the future holds for us. And again, this is really clutching at straws to find that silver lining. But it's been a long, long time since our group's had a long off-season. And we've just got to take that opportunity, and it's not that there's rest and rejuvenation sort of required mentally and physically, but it's not going to be lying on the beach the whole time. We already have had discussions around sort of how we want to set things up, and there are no promises. We completely accept how hard the comp is, and sort of look around even the way it finished. Like, I don't know. Adelaide and Freo seemed like pretty good teams to me, and the logjam through that part of the ladder. If nothing else, it just suggests that if you get some things right and you get a bit of luck and you finish up towards the top, you could do some special things. And you could be a little bit off, not much, but you can fall a long way as well. So we're aware of that challenge, but sort of optimistic at the possibilities.